Rita Mitra from cybersecurity is not able to join us today. Her mother has been very ill, but she did create a video for us to kind of explain a little bit about how she's incorporated OER into her IS 1001 Inside Cyber course. So I'll go ahead and play that now. It's about 10 minutes.
Hi, I'm Rita Mitra, and my grant from the UTS library this year covers a course called Inside Cyber in the Information Systems and Cybersecurity Department. A little bit about me. I teach in that department, but half of my current course load involves designing and developing the online curriculum for the Bachelor's of Business Administration degree in cybersecurity. The curriculum progression was determined before I came on board and partially scoped out. And this course was initially designed to fill a 1-hour gap in a 40-hour curriculum. Its aim, other than filling that 1-hour gap, is to introduce essential concepts of cybersecurity to cybersecurity and information systems majors. It is a required course for those majors, and open to any student at the university as well who is wanting to learn more about the field. The initial design relied on a publisher textbook in management information systems, and it cost around $200. I didn't feel right about using that textbook because it seemed too high a cost for a 1-hour course, and because it doesn't cover cybersecurity per se. So cybersecurity is a fairly new field, and the issues and technology associated with it change rapidly. It would be difficult to near impossible for any standard publisher textbook to keep up with what's happening currently in the field. And the very nature of the field demands staying current. And in addition, the costs associated with this should be minimal. At least from a textbook standpoint. Any student cost would ideally be limited to buying a new gadget that students can tinker with going forward, such as Raspberry Pi, or by purchasing an online lab package. And originally the second was probably what I was leaning towards, but actually we found a set of very interesting OER lab resources that may be able to be utilized in this course and other courses. So I'll just go through briefly kind of some aspects of the course and what we've learned during this iteration. So I already mentioned the benefits of using OER resources in this course. What are some of the challenges of using OER resources? One challenge is due to the fact that cybersecurity is really a combination of a number of fields. So if we're drawing from existing OER texts, we need to curate and consolidate material from computer science, information systems, engineering, business management, psychology, criminal justice, etc. And in addition, to keep up to date, we must not only access recent journal articles, but link out to recent articles in the news. Another challenge is that targeted assessments for this field don't yet exist. And so we have to create them from scratch. And because the course is refreshed every semester to a certain extent, these assessments must also be revised. And finally, the source list can be overwhelming to students, not necessarily as reading material, but as assessment material. So how can we mitigate against these issues? One strategy is to streamline the number of textbooks or other articles and find a few quality resources with more content. Recently, I found a delightful computer science text that I can use across 2 courses. I've provided the link at the end of the presentation. Another improvement I've been making on each iteration is to include links as sources, but only assess content that's provided within the presentation material of the course. That way, it's clear to students what they need to study for quizzes and what they can read as optional material. On the challenge of updating assessments, one idea that's frequently used by others as well, is to have students come up with new assessments for extra credit. I post announcements once or twice a week with new reading material based on what's happened that specific week. And these are likely resources that I'll use in the next iteration of the course. So for extra credit, students can read these and compose a few auto-graded questions that I'll then check and tailor for the next iteration. And finally, I reviewed evaluation surveys from the university as well as those provided by DN for the fall, and both have been hugely helpful. One of the major takeaways is that in the short term, we need to provide one landing spot for all accessible content, and in the long term, I'd like to create an OER text specifically for an introductory cybersecurity course. So I wanted to just highlight some additional benefits of this project. One is that based on feedback, we've seen that this course is filling some gaps in curricular knowledge and leveling incoming competencies. Also, I provide 3 journals for reflections on a topic of interest and a couple of discussion boards in Blackboard. So in these, students have brought up their career interests and what they'd like to focus on in the program as a whole. As a result, the department is planning to permutate this course to a 3-hour one to address the gaps and the background needed for the higher level courses, and also to address student interest in the program as a whole. Finally, we can trickle down some of the content in the higher level courses and avoid redundancies in those courses by moving common core tasks to this course, thereby allowing those higher level courses to focus on their specific topic. Another benefit is the use of the grant money itself. For this course, I've hired an undergraduate to test out and document instructions for an OER lab resource, the one I mentioned before, provided by the Naval Postgraduate School. The labs are relevant across the curriculum, which is super exciting, but for this course, an introductory video game with scenarios and basic cybersecurity concepts is of particular interest. So I deeply appreciate the opportunity to test it out with a student before deploying it next semester. And finally, one of the unanticipated benefits for me while researching for OER resources are the relationships and potential partnerships that can be made with OER providers. The lab resource I mentioned above is one such partnership. The Naval Postgraduate School has indicated that we're free to modify their labs and supply revisions to them to include as part of their library. I'll end by providing a peek at our Blackboard shell for this course. Students entered via the announcements page. So as I mentioned, I post relevant links and material from that week in announcements. And the coursework is under this tab. You go to a table of contents and the modules are listed. Each module has a number of lessons. If you click on a lesson, you're taken out to a soft chalk application, which is an application that any UTSA faculty can use to curate and consolidate content. So you can include videos, links, images, whatnot. And then the final course project is a tabletop exercise, which involves finding an event, a cyber event, and documenting what's happened, who was involved, writing a report on takeaways, lessons learned on how to prevent this attack in the future, and then a presentation on the event is posted on a peer discussion board for review. Then they have an opportunity to revise their presentation based on feedback. Thank you to the library for providing this grant in order to scope out new OER resources. It's been hugely helpful and I really appreciate it.